It's time to become a Fenndamentalist and get back in the box. Today, I'm talking about the remainder of the poem, those 3 stanzas that logically don't contain any of the 9 clues. Stay tuned. Hello travelers, welcome to another video. My name is Jeremy, the Wayward Traveler. If this is your first time here and you would like to learn more about lost or hidden treasures that you could potentially find, start right now by subscribing and clicking that bell below so you won't miss a thing. In a previous video, I broke down the poem found on page 132 of The Thrill of the Chase. By the end of that video, I placed borders around where the 9 clues logically start and end. If you haven't yet watched that video, click the link, watch that video first, and then come back to this one. It'll make a lot more sense. So here we are. We have the 9 clues starting with beginning where warm waters halt and ending at look quickly down your quest to cease. But where do we go from here? The next 2 lines, but tarry scant with marvel gaze, just take the chest and go in peace, are what I call the end. Why do I say that? It's a pretty bold statement. Well, because Forrest said so. On October 1st, 2019, Dale Neitzel published a post to his blog recounting his experience observing the interview in Forrest's home in Santa Fe. After the formal interview was over, Penelope, the reporter from The Voice of America, and Forrest kind of fell into a casual conversation where she asked Forrest, "What does tarry scant mean?" And to Dale's amazement, and frankly mine, Forrest started to answer, and Dale managed to capture most of his response, and here it is.
Hang around.
Don't hang around.
Just and get the hell out of here. Tarry means wait around.
Okay.
And scant means
okay.
For a second or two.
I
don't have the slightest idea what I'm talking about.
I don't know. I got the sense of urgency when you
Yeah.
say that there's some urgency there.
So to paraphrase, those 2 lines, tarry scant with marvel gaze, just take the chest and go in peace, simply mean wait around for a second or two and then get the hell out of here. Dale recalls mentioning to Forrest later on that evening that he was surprised that he actually answered a question about tarry scant, to which Forrest replied, "Why? What else could it mean?" And then he shook his head and said to Dale, "It's not complicated." Now, Forrest's answer shouldn't come to a surprise to anyone. On April 26, 2014, nearly 5.5 years earlier, Scrapbook number 62 was published on Dale's blog. In it, Forrest admonishes searchers, saying, "Some searchers overrate the complexity of the search. Knowing about head pressures, foot pounds, acre feet, Bible verses, Latin, cubic inches, icons, fonts, charts, graphs, formulas, curved lines, magnetic variation, codes, depth meters, riddles, drones, or ciphers will not assist anyone to the treasure location. Although those things have been offered as positive solutions. Excellent research materials are TTOTC, Google Earth, and/or a good map." So keeping Forrest's words in mind about complexity, what we see here in the poem is that 3 stanzas contain the textual map to the treasure location, starting with begin at where warm waters halt and ending with look quickly down your quest to cease. What do we do with the other 3 stanzas? They're not there for filler. I think that we can all agree on that. I don't think that it's logical to assume that they're there for legal purposes, though that's been postulated quite often. At the end of the day, a poem is not going to hold up in a court of law. So I'm skeptical of that. Now, what if it's designed to be read out of order? As in, as I have gone alone in there, and with my treasures bold, I can keep my secret where, and hint of riches new and old. So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answers I already know. I've done it tired, and now I'm weak. So hear me all, and listen good. Your effort will be worth the cold. If you're brave, and in the wood, I give you title to the gold. So to me, that's the perfect setup for where to begin. We know that begin at where warm waters halt is the first clue, and arguably the hardest clue. Likely the most important clue, because if you don't have that, you don't have anything. So to me, it's logical to think, or to assume, that the remaining 3 stanzas gets us to a general location where we can start our search. So as we start to examine that, how might that look? So let's consider the first stanza. As I have gone alone in there, and with my treasures bold, I can keep my secret where, and hint of riches, new and old. A couple of things jump out to me here. First, treasures bold. It kind of reminds me of Montana's nickname, the Treasure State. So the next thing that jumps out to me is new and old. It's really easy to make the leap to New Mexico, but I think that's a little too obvious. Something that I was toying with earlier was maybe the order of statehood. So consider that New Mexico is the newest state in the 4 search states, followed by Wyoming and Montana and then Colorado. It doesn't necessarily help me get to a search area, but being the new and old, we'd be looking at New Mexico and Colorado. So maybe that does start to narrow it down. So considering the next stanza, so why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answers I already know. I've done it tired, and now I'm weak. For me, the big thing, the 4 key words here are why, trove, tired, and weak. So, why is probably the most interesting one, or at least the most fun to play with. So why could be Y as in WY, initials for Wyoming, or it could be maybe Southern Wyoming is it that I must go, or so Wyoming is it that I must go. Maybe it's just a big Y, maybe standing for Yellowstone. So Yellowstone is it that I must go. Trove, I'm not necessarily sure. It doesn't necessarily help me get to a general location right now. The answers I already know. I'm still having issues with that. I've done it tired, and now I'm weak. Still kind of drawing a blank on how to really tie that to a general location. If you have any ideas, maybe leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your ideas, and we can brainstorm back and forth. Now the last stanza. So hear me all and listen good. Your effort will be worth the cold. If you're brave and in the wood, I give you title to the gold. This is a really cool and I think often overlooked paragraph in terms of maybe possibly narrowing down to a general location. So for me, hear and listen really jump out, especially when you combine it with a little bit of wordplay in the first stanza. Here, I immediately think of maybe a horn, like a big bullhorn or megahorn, and it's interesting. And hint of riches, new a horn. Maybe the Bighorn Mountains, Bighorn Canyon. It starts to narrow down to specific areas, which is really cool. That's exactly what I'm looking for in these 3 stanzas. The next thing for me, maybe brave, hinting at an Indian brave or an Indian warrior. Wood, certainly maybe a national forest or other woodland. And cold. Cold is interesting when you start to combine it with brave and wood. So I think that you get a really cool triangulation if you think of, what's cold? Glaciers are cold. And you have the Blackfeet Indian Reservation right beside Glacier National Park. And then you also triangulate down to the Lewis and Clark National Forest. So if you kind of follow that circular logic, you go Glacier National Park into the Blackfeet Indian Reservation and then into the Lewis and Clark National Forest. It's an interesting possibility, and it gets you into a very specific general area to start looking for where warm waters halt. I think that's a good place to stop for today. This is by no means an exhaustive list of all the potential general areas to start your search. My intention today was to provide you with my initial thoughts and reactions, specifically around these 3 stanzas. And to give you an idea of how I try to process the information and metaphors in these three stanzas, and try to circle a place on the map, specifically the map found in Too Far to Walk. Now I'm very interested in your thoughts on these three stanzas and how you might interpret their meanings to identify a general area to start your search for where warm waters halt. So leave a comment below and let's get a conversation started. And as always, thanks for watching. If you got value out of this video, share it with a friend, like it, and if you haven't done so already and you want more videos like this, subscribe, click that bell notification so that you won't miss a thing. And until next time, let imagination guide you and logic guide your actions.